Welcome back to Eyes on Earth, bringing you the latest news from around the world. Georgia was reinventing itself, moving beyond agriculture to become the heart of America's green energy revolution. State officials lured top technology and manufacturing firms with incentives, aiming to build a self-sustaining electric vehicle ecosystem. The centerpiece, a $4.3 billion battery plant in Elabel, a joint venture between Hyundai Motor and LG Energy Solution. This wasn't just a factory, it was a symbol of advanced manufacturing returning to American soil. The plant would produce high-tech batteries for a new generation of American-made electric vehicles, reducing reliance on Asian imports and boosting national security. It promised thousands of high-paying jobs, revitalized communities, and a new era for American industry. The project anchored a supply chain stretching across Georgia and beyond, benefiting local businesses and workers. For Georgians, it meant stable, future-proof employment and a chance to build lasting careers in a cutting-edge field. The White House championed the plant as a model for climate action and economic renewal, powered by the Inflation Reduction Act's incentives. Georgia was becoming a blueprint for America's manufacturing resurgence. This was more than a local story, it was a national vision of renewal and partnership. The Elabel plant stood as proof that government policy could drive private investment in critical sectors. Georgia wasn't just building a factory, it was building the future of American industry. The promise was clear, a cleaner, more prosperous future led by American workers and innovation. Hyundai and LG's multi-billion-dollar investment in Georgia was a strategic move. The U.S. market for electric vehicles was booming, and government incentives made American production essential. Georgia's infrastructure, ports, and business-friendly climate sealed the deal. This project deepened the U.S.-South Korea alliance, evolving it from military to economic partnership. By building a key part of the EV supply chain in America, South Korea showed its commitment as a reliable ally. The plant meant thousands of jobs and a boost to local economies, while giving South Korea access to the lucrative U.S. market. It was a win-win, international cooperation driving domestic growth and technological advancement. The alliance was now about economic collaboration in industries shaping the 21st century. The sight of Hyundai and LG logos in Georgia symbolized a new era of economic statecraft. This was a bet on America's future, workforce, and commitment to tackling climate change. The project stood as a cornerstone of modern industrial policy. Building a battery factory isn't like assembling a warehouse. It demands rare expertise and proprietary technology. For Elabel, that expertise came from elite South Korean engineers who had built similar plants worldwide. These specialists installed custom robotics, calibrated sensitive equipment, and created ultra-clean environments for battery production. Their knowledge, honed over years on factory floors, couldn't be found in manuals. The plan trained American workers, then hand over operations. This model, foreign experts launching projects, locals taking over, is standard in global manufacturing. The South Korean engineers were a temporary but vital bridge to a self-sufficient American factory. Their presence wasn't about taking jobs, but creating the foundation for thousands of future American jobs. Advanced projects require global collaboration and the free movement of skilled talent. These engineers were the seed for a new American industry. Their expertise was indispensable, a fact soon thrown into sharp relief. On September 4, 2025, the future of American green manufacturing was abruptly derailed. ICE agents raided the Elabel site, halting work and detaining 475 workers, over 300 of them South Korean specialists. The scene turned from international cooperation to chaos and fear. Authorities cited visa violations, claiming many specialists were working illegally under visitor visas. The raid was a blunt enforcement of complex immigration laws, paralyzing the $4.3 billion project. Machinery was left half-installed, timelines shattered, and the site became a global spectacle. Images of handcuffed engineers in lab coats sparked outrage, especially in South Korea. The experts who were building America's future were now treated as criminals. Reports suggested the raid was driven by pressure to meet arrest quotas, not targeted intelligence. The original warrant named only a few individuals, but hundreds were swept up. The operation became a political statement about immigration, regardless of economic or diplomatic fallout. The project, once a symbol of progress, was now a cautionary tale. The consequences would ripple far beyond Georgia. America's industrial ambitions were suddenly in jeopardy. The Elabel raid triggered a diplomatic crisis. It came days after a U.S.-South Korea summit celebrating economic partnership, making the raid feel like a betrayal. In Seoul, outrage erupted. Protests outside the U.S. Embassy, headlines decrying American arrogance. President Lee Jae-myung warned the incident could jeopardize future South Korean investment in the U.S. The government demanded the immediate release and humane treatment of its citizens. Diplomatic channels blazed with urgent protests. The U.S. ambassador was summoned. President Trump defended the raid, doubling down on hire American policies. He offered detained engineers a deal stay and train Americans to avoid deportation. Most refused, choosing to return home. Even after Trump ordered ICE to avoid restraints during repatriation, the damage was done. The fallout spread. Japan and China summoned U.S. envoys, alarmed by the treatment of foreign specialists. The raid became a regional diplomatic rift, not just a bilateral issue. The message to global investors America was now unpredictable and potentially hostile to foreign talent. Decades of trust eroded in days. The U.S. risked its reputation as a reliable partner. The cost was more than economic, it was strategic and reputational. The world was watching and confidence was shaken. The Elabel raid sent shockwaves through global boardrooms. America's reputation as a safe haven for investment was shattered overnight. If a flagship project like Hyundai's could be derailed, any foreign venture was at risk. Hyundai delayed the plant indefinitely. LG pulled foreign staff from U.S. sites. Scrambling to hire Americans couldn't fill the skills gap left by departing experts. The standard model of flying in specialist teams was now broken. Foreign companies everywhere began reassessing their U.S. investments. The uncertainty was toxic. Capital fled to safer shores. Trade talks with South Korea stalled, as the Trump administration tried to use the crisis as leverage. The U.S. was seen as weaponizing immigration and trade policy for political gain. The message was clear, the rules had changed, and not for the better. The human cost of the raid was profound. Over 300 South Korean engineers, respected professionals, were detained and humiliated. They'd come to build, not break the law. Now they were treated as criminals. Detention, even in decent conditions, was traumatic and bewildering. The South Korean government fought for their humane treatment and voluntary departure, avoiding blacklisting. Delays and confusion during repatriation deepened the sense of betrayal. For these engineers, an American assignment became a career risk, not an honor. The goodwill and trust that once existed evaporated. The story spread through global professional networks as a warning. America's reputation as a welcoming place for talent was badly damaged. The Elabel plant's indefinite delay was a blow to America's green energy ambitions. Thousands of promised jobs vanished, and local businesses faced uncertainty. The national supply chain for EVs remained vulnerable, reliant on Asian imports. The goals of the Inflation Reduction Act were undermined by the raid. American automakers struggled to compete globally, and the green transition slowed. The skills gap widened. Without South Korean experts, training American workers was impossible. No foreign company would risk sending specialists into such a volatile environment. The U.S. faced a knowledge vacuum it couldn't fill alone. Political battles over immigration had sabotaged strategic economic goals. The promise of a vibrant American-led green revolution was now in doubt. The Georgia ICE raid exposed a core conflict in U.S. policy-strict immigration enforcement versus the need for foreign talent. America can't lead in technology while shutting out the experts who build the future. The Elabel crisis showed that rigid immigration policies can sabotage national interests. The visa system is broken. Essential specialists shouldn't have to rely on visitor visas. Legislative fixes like the stalled Partner with Korea Act are urgently needed. Restoring trust will take more than apologies. It requires real policy change. America's allies and investors need assurance that strategic projects won't be derailed for politics. The U.S. stands at a crossroads: isolation or global collaboration. The answer will shape not just Georgia's battery plant, but America's future role in the world. Can the U.S. secure its borders while welcoming the world's best and brightest? The stakes couldn't be higher.